The hop-marked in Trier hums under the warm spring sun of 1840. The scent of fresh bread and Moselle wine mingles with the creak of carts and the chatter of vendors. Amid the ancient cobblestones, a group of young people gathers in the shade of a sprawling tree, away from the market's bustle. Johann, a law student visiting from the University of Bonn, clutches a tattered pamphlet filled with socialist ideas circulating in secret. His voice quivers with excitement. History is the struggle of classes. Workers create wealth, but the bourgeoisie sees it. Clara, a self-taught philosopher and daughter of a local craftsman, listens intently. That's Karl Marx, isn't it? The Trier boy who studied here before heading to Berlin. Johann nods, eyes alight. Exactly. He's writing for the Rheinische Zeitung now, stirring up trouble for the rich. His ideas are coming back to us. Hans, a blacksmith's apprentice with calloused hands, scratches his head. But what does it mean in practice? A world without bosses sounds like a fairy tale. A local merchant, Herr Braun, trudges past with sacks of grain. Overhearing, he scoffs. Communist nonsense. In capitalism, hard work pays. You want to split my profits with loafers. Clara fires back, smirking, your profits. Or the sweat of your workers who can't afford bread. The group laughs as Braun storms off, muttering. Capitalism, with its shiny promises, crumbles under scrutiny for those who toil. Clara takes the pamphlet and reads another line, inspired by Marx's early works. Private property alienates the worker from their labor. She explains. Marx says the bourgeoisie live off what we produce. Communism gives control back to workers, so everyone has food, shelter, and dignity. Emma, a poet who haunts Trier's literary circles, murmurs a versa. In capitalism, the rich rise tall still while the poor's strength fades in thrall. Hans chuckles. That's it. Capitalism promises gold but delivers hunger. The debate grows heated, but Liesel, daughter of a liberal professor, hesitates. My father says the Prussian government watches anyone talking socialism. Marx is already a troublemaker in Cologne. Isn't this risky? Johann replies gravely. It is. But look around, children toil in workshops. Families starve, while the bourgeoisie buys silk coats. Marx grew up seeing this in Trier. He shows us a path to change. As the sun dips, the group agrees to meet again in secret at a tavern on the city's outskirts. Johann tucks the pamphlet away, wary of prying eyes. The Prussian police are known to crush radical ideas. Marx is Trier's son. We'll start here what he dreamed. They part ways, each carrying the seed of a world-changing idea. A week later, the tavern smells of sour beer and damp wood. A flickering lantern lights the table where Johann, Clara, Hans, Emma, Liesel, Fritz, a baker from the market, huddle. Johann opens a notebook filled with notes from Marx's articles and other socialist thinkers like the Saint Simonians. Marx writes that capitalism thrives by dividing those who work from those who rule. Communism unites workers to control what they make. A Fritz, flour still dusting his hands, laughs. Easy to say. My boss pays me a third of what the bread earns. If I complain, he points to the line of hungry men wanting my job. How do we fight that? Clara leans in, resolute. Marx talks of organization. If workers unite, they can demand more. In time, they can run the bakeries, the factories, everything. The bread you bake, Fritz, would feed the city, not just your boss's wallet. Emma recites softly. In communism, bread is shared. In capitalism, crumbs are spared. Liesel presses. The police arrest people spreading these ideas. You saw what happened in Mainz. Johann nods but stands firm. Marx faces worse in Cologne. He writes under censorship but keeps going. Trier is small, but we can start here, quietly. Fritz grins. If the police come, I'm blaming Johann. The laughter eases the tension, and they plan to study more and reach other workers. Clara suggests simple flyers with Marx's ideas. Workers, the wealth is yours. Unite. Hans volunteers to slip them under doors at night. Days later, 2 textile workers, Karl and Wilhelm, join the group. Karl, hands scarred from burns, shares. In the factory, we worked 12 hours. A friend lost his fingers to a machine, and the boss fired him with nothing. It's capitalism, Clara scribbles, furious. Marx calls it exploitation. You create the wealth, but the bourgeoisie take it. Wilhelm, younger and fiery, snaps. Why not confront the bosses now? Johann tempers him. Marx says revolution needs preparation. Without organization, we're easy targets. We grow quietly like a chain linking us. Rumors spread in Trier. A merchant-aligned newspaper prints. Young troublemakers peddle dangerous utopias. Clara reads it and laughs. Utopias. They call it utopia to want bread for all while the rich stuff their pockets. Capitalism's the real thief, stealing our work and dignity. The group doubles down. They write flyers by hand. Trier's workers, the future is ours. Down with exploitation. Fritz and Hans distribute them in alleys and workshops. Whispers of the Marx youths ripple through the city. In a rainy tavern meeting, Clara pushes for more. We need to reach the factories. That's where Marx's strength lies. Johann agrees. Troyer could be the spark. Marx dreamed of a just world and we'll plant it here. The spring rains drench Trier streets, but the tavern's warmth holds strong. The group, now 10 strong, crowds around the worn table. Alongside Johann, Clara hands Emma, Liesel, Fritz, Karl and Wilhelm, 2 new textile workers. Anna and Peter share tales of grueling shifts and wages that barely buy milk. Anna, voice hoarse from shouting over factory noise, vents, work till our bones ache, but the bosses buy new carriages. Does Marx explain this? Clara, her notebook brimming, replies, he does. Marx calls it surplus value. Profit comes from what you produce but don't get. Communism ends that, putting factories in workers' hands. Peter, thin with sunken eyes, acts. But how? Bosses have money, guards, even the government. We're just workers. Johann leans forward. Marx says strength lies in unity. Alone, we're weak. Together, we're unstoppable. Emma offers a verse: in capitalism, the rich command sea. In communism, power expands. Fritz chuckles. Good one! Capitalism's like a greedy baker, keeps the loaf and tosses crumbs. The latter fades as Karl, the seasoned worker, speaks. In the factory, talk of unity is dangerous. Complain and you're fired. Some vanish. Liesel whispers, my father heard the Prussian police are probing socialist agitation in Trier. Clara stays resolute. Marx faced worse in Cologne. He writes under threat but doesn't quit. If we back down, capitalism wins. Keep the flyers going and talk to more workers. Wilhelm, eager, suggests, what about a secret factory meeting? After hours. Johann pauses, then nods, risky, but Marx says revolution starts where workers are. Let's plan. But they sharpen their flyers. Troyer's workers, the wealth is yours. Unite against exploitation. Hans and Anna volunteer to slip them into workshops and homes. Rumors swell. A merchant gripes in the market. These kids want to ruin Trier with crazy ideas. Clara, overhearing, snaps. Ruin. We want bread for all, not just your feats. The crowd chuckles, and capitalism's greed becomes the city's punchline. The secret factory meeting is set. After hours, in a dimly lit storage room, 20 workers gather around a single candle. Wilhelm speaks first, nervous. We weave the cloth, but who gets rich? The bosses. Marx says we can change this. Clara adds, in communism, factories are ours. We work for everyone, not to fatten the bourgeoisie. Murmurs ripple, some excited, others fearful. An older worker, face lined with hardship, asks, if we're caught, what about our families? Johann answers, Marx knows the risk, but capitalism already dooms us to misery. Together we can fight for better. The meeting ends with a vow: spread the ideas quietly. Each worker tucks a flyer under their shirt. Communism, like an unseen chain, links Trier's workers. Tension mounts. A local paper screams, subversive youth spread dangerous ideas in Trier. Clara laughs. Dangerous? They call justice dangerous while capitalism robs us blind. Liesel brings grim news. My father heard the police plan to search taverns and student homes. Undeterred, the group meets in a storm-soaked tavern. Clara proposes, let's write an open letter, inspired by Marx, demanding better factory conditions. No signatures, but we spread it wide. Johann agrees. It's bold, but Marx says struggle takes courage. Trier could ignite the fire. Fritz jokes, if it flops, we'll haunt the bourgeoisie as communist ghosts. They laugh and draft the letter. Crying Trier's workers, capitalism exploits us. We demand fair wages, humane hours, and an end to bosses' tyranny. Hand-copied, the letter spreads. Markets, taverns, even the cathedral steps. Trier buzzes, and the bourgeoisie panic. A merchant shouts in the square, this is anarchy. Clara, hidden in the crowd, whispers to Hans, anarchy. No, justice. Communism is the people's voice. Marx's dream, born in Trier, pulses stronger, and the youths know the future rests in their hands. The storm has passed, but Trier remains restless. The open letter, scattered like leaves across the city, has stirred both hope and fear. In the dim tavern, the group huddles closer, their faces lit by a flickering lamp. The air smells of damp wool and stale beer, but the mood is electric. Clara, her notebook now a patchwork of ideas and plans, speaks first. The letter worked. Workers are talking. Some even dared to question their bosses. Marx would be proud. Johann nods, but his brow furrows. It also woke the beast. The police are sniffing closer. We need to be smarter. Karl, the grizzled textile worker, leans forward, his voice low. In the factory, a few mates are ready to join us, but most are scared. They've seen what happens to troublemakers. Fired, blacklisted, or worse. Anna, her hands rough from looms, adds, a woman in my shift was beaten for stealing scraps to feed her kids. That's capitalism. It punishes the hungry and rewards the cruel. Emma, ever poetic, murmurs, in capitalism, Hunger is a crime, while greed dances in its prime. Fritz laughs. Greed dancing sounds like a clumsy waltz at a bourgeois ball. The group chuckles, but the weight of their task pulls them back. Liesel, fidgeting with her scarf, shares a warning. My father overheard merchants at the university club. They're pressuring the mayor to crack down on radical youths. They mention Marx by name. Hans clenches his fists. Let them try. Marx's ideas are stronger than their clubs and coins. Clara, practical as ever, cuts in. Strength won't help if we're in chains. We need to spread the word faster, but quietly. Marx says the working class is the engine of change. Let's find more workers. The group decides to expand their efforts beyond the textile factory. Wilhelm suggests the ironworks on the city's edge, where men toil in sweltering forges. The smiths there are angry. Low pay, long hours, and burns that never heal. They'll listen. Johann agrees, good. But we can't just preach Marx. We need to show how communism solves their problems. Clara proposes small, secret meetings in workers' homes where they can talk freely. We'll bring Marx's ideas to life: fair wages, shared tools, no more bosses hoarding profits. They refine their flyers, keeping the language sharp. Workers of Trier, unite. Your labor builds their wealth. Take what's yours. Peter and Anna volunteer to slip them into the ironworks and nearby tanneries. The group also agrees to rotate meeting spots, taverns, cellars, even abandoned sheds, to avoid detection. Fritz, ever the joker, quips, "Capitalism's so scared of us, it's sweating gold coins." Clara smirks. "Let it sweat. Communism's the future, and it's knocking." The next week, the group's efforts bear fruit. At a secret meeting in Hans's cramped attic, 5 new faces join 3 ironworkers and 2 tanners, their clothes reeking of smoke and leather. One, a burly smith named Otto, speaks gruffly. "I heard about your flyers. You say we can run the forges ourselves. No more bosses." Johann nods, pulling out his worn copy of Marx's notes. Marx says workers create everything: iron, cloth, bread. Communism means you decide how it's shared, not some fat merchant. Otto's friend, a tanner named Greta, scoffs. Sounds nice, but the bosses have spies. Last year, a mate got jailed for talking about a strike. Clara meets her gaze. Marx faced spies too. He says the ruling class fears our unity. If we stand together, they can't break us. The new recruits exchange glances, wary but intrigued. Emma recites, "In communism, we rise as one sin; in capitalism, we're undone." Otto grunts, half smiling. Pretty words. "But I'm in, if you've got a plan." But the plan takes shape. Small groups will spread Marx's ideas in their workplaces, focusing on practical demands. Shorter hours, safer conditions, better pay, while planting the seeds of communism. Johann emphasizes, Joe Marx says reform isn't enough, but it's a start. Every step builds the revolution. The meeting ends with a quiet pledge, hands clasped in the dim light. Trier's workers are waking, and the group feels the pulse of something unstoppable. But danger looms. A local newspaper, bankrolled by merchants, ramps up its attacks. Trier under siege by Marxist agitators. "Protect our prosperity." Clara reads it aloud in the tavern, laughing. Prosperity. For who? The bourgeoisie sipping wine while we starve. Capitalism's a bad liar. Liesel, however, brings worse news. "My father says the police hired informants. They're watching the factories and student haunts." Wilhelm, defiant, slams his mug down. "Let them watch. We'll outsmart them." Clara, ever strategic, suggests a decoy. "Let's spread fake rumors about a big meeting at the old mill. While the police chase ghosts, we'll meet in small groups." Johann grins. "Clever." Marx would approve. Use their paranoia against them. They draft more flyers, but with coded phrases to confuse spies. The river flows for all. Join the current. Hans and Fritz distribute them, slipping through Trier's alleys like shadows. The decoy works. The police raid the mill, finding only rats and cobwebs, while the group meets in scattered homes. In one, Clara speaks to a dozen workers. Marx says the bourgeoisie rule because we let them. Communism gives us the power. Together we're the future. A young iron worker, inspired, vows to recruit his mates. Across Trier, the chain grows, linking forges, looms, and tanneries. The bourgeoisie, sensing the shift, grow frantic. A merchant rants in the market. "These radicals will ruin us." Clara, passing by, whispers to Emma, "Ruin them." "No, we're building a world for all. Communism's coming, and Trier's just the start." A Trier's summer of 1840 arrives with a restless heat, mirroring the city's growing unrest. The group's secret meetings have spread like roots beneath the soil, connecting workers in factories, forges, and tanneries. In a cramped cellar lit by a single candle, Johann addresses a dozen new recruits, smiths, weavers, and laborers, while Clara scribbles notes. Marx writes that the proletariat, the working class, holds the key to history. Your labor builds Trier's wealth. Communism lets you claim it. Atu, the burly ironworker, folds his arms. I've talked to my mates at the forge. They're tired of burns and starvation wages. But they're scared. Bosses are watching, and the police are everywhere. Greta, the tanner, nods. A friend was fired just for reading one of your flyers. Capitalism's a trap, workers starve, and even then you barely eat. Emma, her voice soft but piercing, offers a verse. In capitalism, chains bind tighted. In communism, we claim the light. Ought. Fritz chuckles. Chains. Capitalism's more like a greedy landlord. Kicks you out and keeps your rent. The laughter eases the tension, but the stakes are clear. Clara lays out the next step. Marx says we build class consciousness. Workers understanding their power. We keep meeting, keep teaching, but we also need action. Small victories, like better wages or shorter shifts, show what's possible. Wilhelm, ever eager, suggests, what about a petition? We demand safer machines and fair pay, signed by hundreds. The bosses can't ignore that. Liesel, nervous, interjects. My father says the Prussian authorities are doubling patrols. A petition could draw their eyes. Johann waives the risk. Marx faced censorship and exile, yet he kept writing. A petition is bold, but it's a spark. We'll be careful. Collect signatures in secret. No names the police can trace. The group agrees, drafting a document inspired by Marx's call for justice. Workers of Trier demand human hours, safe tools, and wages to live, not merely survive. The wealth we create is ours. They use coded names, River, Forge, Loom, to sign, protecting their identities. Hans and Anna take on the task of gathering signatures, slipping the petition into workshops and homes under cover of night. The campaign moves swiftly. In the ironworks, Otto convinces 20 smiths to sign. In the textile mills, Anna and Wilhelm collect dozens more. Even hesitant workers, worn down by endless shifts, add their marks, emboldened by the promise of a better world. Clara, meeting with a group of weavers, explains, Marx says the bourgeoisie fear our unity. Every signature is a step toward communism, a world where we share the fruits of our labor. A young weaver, inspired, whispers, I want my children to grow up without hunger. I'm in. But the bourgeoisie fight back. A local newspaper, funded by merchants, prints a scathing editorial. Trier's workers seduced by Marxist lies. Our prosperity depends on order. Clara reads it aloud in the cellar, scoffing. Prosperity. For the bosses sipping brandy while we choke on factory smoke. Capitalism's a leech, and we're pulling it off. Fritz adds, a leech with a fancy hat. The group laughs, but Liesel brings grim news. My father heard the mayor's hiring more informants. They're targeting anyone with flyers. The group adapts. They spread false leads, whispering about fake meetings in abandoned barns, while gathering in cellars and attics. The police, chasing shadows, grow frustrated, but the pressure mounts. One night, Hans returns from distributing flyers with a bruised face. A merchant's guard caught me. I got away, but they're watching the alleys. Johann clenches his jaw. Marx warned of this. The ruling class will fight dirty to keep power. We fight smarter. But the petition nears 200 signatures, a quiet triumph. The group plans to present it anonymously, leaving copies at the mayor's office, factory gates, and the market square. Clara suggests a distraction. We'll stage a small protest. Nothing big, just workers chanting for bread in the Hauptmarkt. While the police focus there, we spread the petition. Wilhelm grins. Let's rattle their cages. Emma recites, in communism, voices soar, sin in capitalism, silenced evermore. Otto grunts. Enough poetry, I'm ready to shout. The protest is set for a foggy morning. 30 workers, faces half hidden by scarves, gather in the square, chanting, bread for all, and the boss's greed. Shoppers pause, some joining in, others hurrying away. The police arrive, batons raised, but the group scatters before arrests are made. Meanwhile, Hans, Fritz, and Anna plaster the city with petitions. By noon, Trier buzzes with talk of the workers' demands. A merchant, red-faced, rants to a crowd. This is Marxist chaos. Clara, blending into the onlookers, murmurs to Hans. Chaos. No. It's the sound of communism rising. The petition shakes the city. A few factory owners, fearing unrest, raise wages slightly, a crumb to quiet the workers. The group celebrates in the cellar, but Clara warns. Marx says reforms are traps if they don't lead to revolution. We take the win, but we push for more. Johann nods. Trier's waking up. Marx's dream is alive, and we're its heartbeat. The group raises their mugs, not to beer, but to a future where workers rule. Outside, Trier's streets hum with whispers of change, and the bourgeoisie tremble knowing the tide is turning. The fog of Trier's early autumn clings to the cobblestones, but the city's pulse quickens. The petition's ripples have stirred workers across factories and forges, and whispers of Marx's ideas spread faster than the Prussian police can chase. In a damp attic, the group gathers, now nearly 20 strong, with new faces from the ironworks and a brewery. Clara, her notebook worn thin, addresses the crowd. The bosses gave us crumbs. Small raises, fewer hours for some. Marx would call it a trick to keep us quiet. We take the gains, but we aim higher. A world where workers own the means of production. Otto, the ironworker, slams a fist on a crate. My mates at the forge are bolder now. They're talking about a strike if the bosses don't fix the broken furnaces. Marx's words lit a fire. Anna, her hands still stained from textile dyes, agrees. In the mill, women are hiding flyers in their aprons. They want more than crumbs, they want control. Emma, weaving poetry into the moment, recites. In capitalism, we beg for scraps. In communism, we break the traps. Fritz grins. Traps. Capitalism's a bad hunter, sets snares but catches itself. The laughter is brief, drowned by the weight of their mission. Liesel, her voice tense, shares troubling news. My father says the merchants formed a committee to root out Marxist agitators. They're offering rewards for names. Wilhelm, defiant scoffstra. Let them hunt. We're ghosts, slipping through their fingers. But Johann, ever cautious, warns, Marx faced spies and betrayal. We need to tighten our circle. Codes, signals, no loose talk. The group adopts hand signals and pseudonyms. Clara becomes Spark, Johann River, to confuse informants. They also agree to split into smaller cells, each spreading Marx's ideas independently but linked by trusted runners like hands. The cells multiply, each meeting in secret to study Marx's writings and plan. One cell, led by Otto, organizes ironworkers to demand safer forges. Another, under Anna, teaches weavers to read flyers aloud to illiterate coworkers. Clara's cell focuses on strategy, drafting new messages. Workers of Trier, the factories are yours. Unite for communism. The flyers, now printed on a borrowed press hidden in a tanner's shed, flood the city. Hans and Peter dodge patrols to distribute them, their hearts racing as they slip through Trier's shadowed alleys. The bourgeoisie, rattled by the growing unrest, strike back. A factory owner fires 10 workers suspected of spreading radical ideas, and the newspaper screams. Trier's prosperity threatened by Marxist rebels. Clara reads it in the attic, laughing bitterly. Prosperity. For the bosses building mansions while we sue their clothes and squalor. Capitalism's a thief in a silk suit. Fritz adds. And a clumsy one. Trips over its own greed. The group chuckles, but the firings sting. Greta, the tanner fumes. Those workers have families. We can't let the bosses win. Clara proposes a bold move, a relief fund for the fired workers, funded by small donations from each cell. Marx says solidarity is our strength. We show the workers we're not just talk, we're family. The group pools coins, and Fritz bakes extra bread to distribute. The fund, though modest, reaches the families, who whisper thanks in the market. Word spreads, the Marx youths care for their own, unlike the bosses who discard them. A fired weaver, tears in her eyes, tells Anna, I thought we were alone. Now I see the future Marx promised. The relief fund sparks more defiance. In the ironworks, Otto's cell stages a slowdown, forging tools at half speed to pressure the bosses. The textile mill follows, with women, accidentally, tangling looms to demand the fired workers' reinstatement. The bosses, caught off guard, hesitate, fearing a full strike. Clara, meeting with her cell, sees the shift. Marx says the proletariat's power grows in struggle. Trier's workers are waking up. Wilhelm, eager, pushes. Why not strike now? Hit them hard. Johann tempers him. Marx warns against haste. A strike needs every worker ready, or it crumbles. The group plans a mass meeting to gauge support, set for a moonless night in an abandoned barn outside Trier. Over 50 workers attend, their breaths visible in the chilly air. Clara speaks, her voice steady. Marx teaches that capitalism thrives on our division. Communism unites us to take back what's ours. Factories, forges our lives. Otto lads. The bosses fear us now. Let's show them we're not stopping. The crowd murmurs approval, and a vote is taken. Prepare for a strike but build numbers first. Emma seals the moment with a versa. In communism, we stand tall. Sin in capitalism, we're doomed to crawl. The meeting's success is shadowed by danger. A spy, posing as a worker, slips word to the police. The next day, patrols raid suspected meeting spots, arresting 2 of Otto's cell. The group, shaken, meets in a new cellar. Liesel, pale, whispers. My father says the merchants are pushing for martial law. Clara, undeterred, rallies them. Marx faced worse and kept fighting. We honor him by staying united. They send coded messages to warn other cells and smuggle food to the arrested workers' families. Fritz, delivering bread, jokes. Capitalism's shaking like a bad loaf in the oven. The group smiles, but their resolve hardens. Trier teeters on the edge. Workers whisper Marx's name in alleys, while the bourgeoisie clutch their purses, sensing the ground shift. A merchant, shouting in the hopmark, rails. These communists will destroy us. Clara, passing by, murmurs to Hans. Destroy. No, we're building a world where no one starves. Marx's dream is Trier's and it's alive. The cells tighten their ranks, ready for the fight ahead, knowing communism's promise burns brighter than the boss's threats. Winter's chill creeps into Trier, frosting the cobblestones and sharpening the hunger in workers' homes. The arrests of Otto's comrades have tightened the news, but the group's resolve holds firm. In a cramped shed behind a brewery, the core members, Clara, Johann, Hans, Emma, Liesel, Fritz, Wilhelm, Anna, Granato, now free on bail, meet with leaders from other cells. Clara, her breath visible in the cold, opens. Marx says the bourgeoisie will use force when threatened. The arrests prove it. But every worker we lose strengthens our cause. Communism grows in struggle. Otto, his face gaunt from jail, growls. The police beat my mate senseless. They think fear will stop us. They're wrong. Anna nods, her voice fear said. In the mill, women are sewing flyers into cloth shipments. The bosses don't suspect. They're too busy counting coins. Emma, weaving hope into words, recites. In capitalism, fear is king. In communism, freedom sings. Fritz, handing out stale bread from his bakery, grins. Freedom. Capitalism's more like a stingy tavern, charges you for air. The group laughs, but the mood is taut. Liesel, clutching a shawl, shares dire news. My father says the Prussian governor is sending troops to Trier. The merchants claim we're planning a revolt. Wilhelm, eyes blazing, slams a fist on a barrel. Let them come. We'll show them Marx's revolution. Johann, calm but firm, counters. Marx warns against reckless battles. Troops crush unprepared uprisings. We need numbers. Every worker, every shop. Clara agrees. We build the strike. It's our weapon. A city of workers standing scares the bosses more than fists. The group refocuses on the strike, now a whispered plan across Trier's workplaces. Otto's cell rallies iron workers, promising to halt forges if demands. Safer conditions, higher wages, aren't met. Anna and Wilhelm organize the textile mills, where women pass coded messages in thread patterns. Even the brewery workers, swayed by Greta's fiery speeches, join hiding flyers in barrels. The cells distribute new messages, bold yet cryptic. Trier's heart beats for all. Stop the wheels, claim the call. Hans and Peter, dodging police patrols, scatter them in markets and alleys. The bourgeoisie, sensing the tide, escalate their attacks. Factory owners hire thugs to rough up suspected agitators, and the newspaper blares. Marxist traitors plot to burn Trier. Clara, reading it in the shed, scoffs burn. We're building a world where no one freezes while the rich warm their hands on our labor. Capitalism's the real arsonist. Fritz adds. Yea, burning our wages to fuel their carriages. The group chuckles, but Greta's voice cuts through. The thugs got one of my tanners. He's in the hospital. We need to hit back. Clara proposes a counter-strike, a citywide slowdown. Time to disrupt production without triggering a full crackdown. Marx says the proletariat's power is in its labor. Slow the factories, and the bosses bleed money. The cells agree, coordinating through runners who carry coded notes, scrawled as grocery lists or love letters to fool spies. The slowdown begins subtly. Iron workers misplace tools, weavers tangle looms, brewery vats accidentally over-ferment. Profits dip, and factory owners panic, unaware of the coordinated effort. The slowdown's success emboldens the workers. In a secret meeting of over 80, held in a forest clearing at dawn, Clara speaks. Marx teaches that capitalism needs us, but we don't need it. This slowdown shows our strength. The strike comes next. Otto, his voice hoarse, adds, my forge mates are ready. No more burns, no more starvation wages. A brewery worker, new to the cause, vows, we'll stop the barrels if the bosses don't listen. Emma seals the pact with a verse. In communism, we share the load. In capitalism, we're sold. The meeting scatters before patrols arrive, but the police are closing in. A raid on a tanner's home uncovers a hidden press, and 3 cell members are arrested. Liesel, trembling, reports. My father says the governor's troops arrive tomorrow. They'll search every workshop. Johann, his face grim, rallies the group. Marx faced exile and kept fighting. We honor him by staying one step ahead. They destroy incriminating papers, hide the press in a new location, and send runners to warn other cells. Fritz, delivering bread to a jailed worker's family, quips, capitalism's nervous, spilling its gold like a drunk. The group smiles, but fear gnaws. The slowdown intensifies, and Trier's economy stumbles. Merchants, desperate, petition the mayor for martial law, claiming Marxist sabotage. A factory owner, shouting in the hopmarket, rants, these communists are strangling us. Clara, blending into the crowd, whispers to Hans, strangling. No, we're cutting the chains. Communism's the air workers breathe. The cells prepare for the strike, training workers to stand firm against threats. Clara, in a late-night meeting, reminds them Marx says the revolution is a process. Trier's our spark, and it's spreading. As troops march into Trier, their boots echoing in the streets, the group knows time is short. They draft a final flyer, to be spread on strike day. Workers of Trier rise. The future is communism, claim it now. Hands risking arrest, slips it into every corner of the city. The bourgeoisie huddle in their mansions, fearing the silence of stopped machines. Trier stands on a knife's edge, and Marx's dream, carried by its youth, burns brighter than ever. The winter of 1840 grips Trier, but the city's streets burn with anticipation. Prussian troops patrol the Hauptmarkt, their bayonets glinting under gas lamps. Yet the workers' resolve, fueled by Marx's vision, grows fiercer. In a hidden cellar, its walls damp with frost, Clara, Johann, Hans, Emma, Liesel, Fritz, Wilhelm, Anna, Otto, and Greta meet with cell leaders, their faces drawn but defiant. Clara, her voice steady despite the cold, declares, "The strike is ready." Marx says the proletariat's power lies in stopping the machines. When Trier's workers stand still, the bourgeoisie will tremble. Otto, his hand still scarred from the forge, nods. The ironworks are in. Every smith, every apprentice. We stop tomorrow at dawn. Anna adds, the textile mills, too. Women are passing needles with coated threads to spread the word. Greta, her voice rough from rallying tanners, confirms. The tanneries and brewery are set. We're not just stopping, we're showing what communism can build. Emma, her poetry a beacon, recites, in capitalism, we're gears in their grind. In communism, we free the mind. Fritz, tossing a crust of bread to the group, grins. Jeers. Capitalism's a rusty mill, creaking while we do the work. The laughter is fleeting, overshadowed by the strike's weight. Liesel, shivering, brings urgent news. My father overheard the governor's plan. Troops will guard factories to break the strike. They're offering bounties for our names. Wilhelm, his temper flaring, snaps. Let them trust workers. We're not Jux's army. Johann, measured, counters. Marx warns against bravado. The strike must be disciplined. No violence, no chaos. We shut down Trier's wealth to prove our power. Clara outlines the plan at first light. Workers across forges, mills, tanneries, and breweries will halt, demanding fair wages, safe conditions, and the reinstatement of fired comrades. Flyers, already printed, will flood the city. Trier's workers rise. Communism is our future. The night before the strike, Hans and Peter risk everything, slipping through alleys to distribute the flyers. They dodge patrols, hearts pounding as they tuck papers under doors and into market stalls. Meanwhile, the cells prepare workers for the standoff, teaching them to link arms and stand firm against troops. Clara, meeting with a group of weavers, explains, Marx says capitalism depends on our labor. Stop it, and the bosses beg. This is our step toward communism. A young weaver, clutching a flyer, nods. My children deserve better. I'll stand with you. The bourgeoisie, frantic, tighten their grip. Factory owners hire more thugs, and the newspaper shrieks. A Marxist anarchy threatens Trier's Saul. Clara, reading it in the cellar, laughs. Saul, capitalism's soul is a ledger, tolling our sweat for their gold. We're the ones with heart. Fritz adds, and empty stomachs, thanks to their prosperity. The group chuckles, but Otto's voice cuts through. The troops are billeting in the market. If they charge, people could die. Clara meets his gaze. Marx faced death threats and kept writing. We honor him by staying united, not scattering. Dawn breaks, gray and cold. The strike begins. In the ironworks, Otto leads hundreds of smiths to lay down their hammers, the forges falling silent. In the textile mills, Anna and Wilhelm guide women to stop their looms, the hum of machinery replaced by defiant chants. Workers unite. The wealth is ours. Tanneries and breweries follow, their workers locking gates and linking arms. Trier's pulse slows, its factories stilled. Shoppers in the Hauptmarkt pause, awed by the eerie quiet. Flyers litter the streets, their words Bladism now, communism now. Trier's workers lead. The bourgeoisie panic. Factory owners, faces pale, demand the governor act. Troops march to the ironworks, batons raised, but the workers hold firm, their line unbroken. A captain shouts, back to work, or we'll drag you. Otto, at the front, roars, drag us, and Trier starves. The forges are ours. The crowd cheers and the troops hesitate, worry of a riot. In the mills, women led by Anna face similar threats but stand tall, chanting Marx's words. The proletariat has nothing to lose but its chains. By noon, Trier is paralyzed. Merchants, unable to ship goods, lose fortunes. The mayor, pressured by the bourgeoisie, meets with factory owners, who grudgingly offer concessions, higher wages, safer machines, and rehiring some fired workers. The news reaches the strikers, but Clara, in a hurried cell meeting, warns. Marx says reforms are bait to stop the revolution. We take the wins, but we don't stop. Communism is our goal. Johann agrees. This strike shows Trier's power. Marx's dream is alive, and we're its voice. The strike holds for 2 days, each hour a testament to the workers' unity. Troops, frustrated, arrest dozens, but the cells smuggle food to their families, keeping morale high. Emma, passing a verse among the strikers, chants, "In communism, we share the fight, in capitalism, we're lost tonight." A merchant, watching the chaos, shouts in the square, "These Marxists are devils." Clara, hidden nearby, whispers to Hans, "Devils. No, we're the workers who built their world, claiming it back." The strike, though battered, stands firm, and Trier's workers know communism's spark, lit by Marx, will not be snuffed out. Trier's strike stretches into its 3rd day, the city's silence louder than any forge or loom. The workers, fortified by Marx's vision, hold their lines despite Prussian troops looming at every factory gate. In a cramped attic, the group, Clara, Johann, Hans, Emma, Liesel, Fritz, Wilhelm, Anna, Otto, and Greta, meets with cell leaders, their faces etched with exhaustion but burning with purpose. Clara, her voice hoarse from rallying workers, speaks. Marx says the proletariat's strength is in its unity. This strike proves it. Trier's workers have stopped the bourgeoisie's world. Now we decide how far we push. Otto, his eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights, reports, "The ironworks are solid. The bosses offered more wages, but we're holding for full reinstatement of the fired and safer forges." Anna adds, "The mill women are unbreakable. They're singing Marx's words to keep spirits high." Greta, her hands stained from tannery work, grins. "The brewery's locked tight. Barrels aren't moving until we win." Emma, her poetry a rallying cry, recites, "In communism, we forge the day, sin in capitalism, we're cast away." Fritz, tossing a stale roll to the group, quips, "Chast away. Capitalism's a shipwreck, and the bosses are the rats." The ladder is thin, strained by the stakes. Liesel, her hands trembling, delivers grim news. "My father says the governor's losing patience. He's talking about declaring a state of emergency. Troops could start shooting." Wilhelm, his fists clenched, snaps, "Let them shoot. We'll die for Marx's future." Johann, steady as ever, counters, "Marx teaches us to fight smart, not die needlessly. The strike's our weapon. Every day it holds, the bosses lose more. We end it on our terms." Clara nods. "We demand everything. Wages, safety, reinstatement. And we spread the word." Trier's strike is communism's first flame. At the cells coordinate through runners, using coded signals, red thread in a window, a whistle in the market, to evade spies. Flyers, printed in secret, blanket the city. Trier's workers lead the way. Communism now, for all. Hans and Peter, braving arrest, slip them into taverns and under workshop doors. The workers, though hungry and battered, draw strength from the messages. A young smith, clutching a flyer, tells Otto, "I thought we were nothing. Marx showed me we're everything." The bourgeoisie, desperate, escalate their tactics. Factory owners spread lies, claiming the strikers are paid by foreign agitators. The newspaper screams, "Marxist traitors sell Trier to cows." Clara, reading it aloud in the attic, laughs bitterly. "Cows. Capitalism's the cows, starving us while the rich feast. We're the ones bringing order, Marx's order." Fritz adds, "Yeah, their order's a bad stew. All gristle, no meat." The group chuckles, but Anna's voice cuts through. The bosses are bribing workers to break the strike. Some are wavering. Clara acts fast, organizing cell leaders to visit wavering workers. In a weaver's tiny home, she speaks. "Marx says the bourgeoisie divide us with crumbs. Stay united, and we win a world where no one begs." The weaver, tears in her eyes, recommits, passing the word to her mates. The strike holds, but the cost mounts. Troops beat strikers at the tannery gates, and dozens more are arrested. The cells smuggle bread and coins to their families, keeping the flame alive. Greta, delivering supplies, vows, "Marx's ideas are stronger than their jails." On the 4th day, a breakthrough. The mayor, pressured by merchants facing ruin, calls a meeting with worker representatives. Clahan and Otto, disguised as neutral laborers, attend under false names. The factory owners, pale and sweating, offer concessions, higher wages, safer machines, and partial reinstatement. Clara, channeling Marx, pushes back, "Not enough. Every fired worker returns, and we want a workers' council to oversee conditions." The owners balk, but the mayor, fearing a broader uprising, urges them to yield. The agreement is struck, and the strike ends with a fragile victory. Workers return to their posts, chanting, "Trier unites! The future's ours." The concessions, though limited, spark hope. In the attic, the group celebrates quietly, aware the fight is far from over. Clara warns, Marx says reforms are stepping stones, not the goal. We've shown Trier's power, but communism is the world we build. Johann adds, this is Marx's spark lit in his hometown. It'll spread beyond Trier. The bourgeoisie, humiliated, plot revenge, but the workers' spirit soars. Flyers still circulate, and cells continue meeting, teaching Marx words to new recruits. Emma, her voice soft but fierce, recites. In communism, we write our fates. In capitalism, we bear the weight. A merchant, raging in the market, shouts, these Marxists will pay. Clara, passing by, whispers to Hans, pay, we're the ones who built their wealth. Communism's our wage, and Trier's just the start. As winter deepens, Trier's workers carry Marx's dream in their hearts. The group, battered but unbroken, knows their strike has planted a seed, one that will grow into a revolution. Marx, riding far away, would smile, knowing his hometown has answered his call. The future, bright with communism's promise, belongs to Trier's workers, and they will not let it go.